Welcome to the English Worship Jokja podcast. I'm Pastor Jamie Kemp, and I'm excited that you're joining us for this week's message. English Worship is a charismatic, Christ-centered community. We want to empower you to pursue your God-given purpose in God's global plan. To find the most updated information about English Worship Jokja and how you can get connected, follow us on Instagram @EWJokja. Thanks for listening. All right, welcome to English Worship. I'm Pastor Jamie, and I'm glad to see you guys. Glad to see some old friends here, and I've met some new friends, so great to have you guys here with us today. Thanks, Pastor Elia, for the invitation and opportunity to speak. I work with a church in Jakarta called IES, and so I'm here for the weekend to hang out with you guys, and so it's good to meet all the new people and, of course, see some of my old friends here today. So it's great to be back with you guys. Man, I've just heard some testimonies of great things God has been doing here at English Worship, so it does my heart good. It was 10 weeks ago that I moved from Jogja to Jakarta, so I've been gone for 10 or 11 weeks now, and it was funny because last time I was here about 4 weeks ago, and it was funny because I see this mixed reaction from some of you, all right? Because some of you, you're like, oh, Pastor Jamie, so great to see you. And I'm like, oh, that's great. And then some of you are like, what are you doing here? You know, so it's like so this mixed reaction. But I'll never forget last month when I was here, one of you, I won't say who it was, but she made me laugh because when she saw me, she was so sweet. You know, she said to me, Pastor Jamie, so good to see you. And then she asked me how's IS, how's our family doing in Jakarta, and then she, you know, so it was super sweet, a great conversation. Then she said something that I wasn't expecting. All right, she said to me, she looked at me and she kind of like pointed towards my stomach and she said, looks like you've gained some weight. And I was like, what? Like, I did not expect that, you know, at all. So basically she spoke to every insecurity I have. All right. So I've been at the gym every day for the last month. All right. Ever since that moment. All right. So I wasn't expecting that comment at all. And I think we've all been in that situation, right? Where somebody says something, you're like, what? You know, you're not sure how to react. You weren't expecting that comment. You didn't know what to say, and you just didn't know, you weren't expecting that to happen, right? Well, after Jesus's crucifixion and death, Jesus appears to his disciples. So after his crucifixion, his death, and his resurrection, he appears to his disciples, and he says these 4 words that they were not expecting to hear. And these 4 words change everything. These 4 unexpected words from Jesus change everything. And for many of us, these 4 words are for us today, that we need to hear these same 4 words that Jesus shared with his disciples. These words aren't just revealing, they're life-changing. They show us something about the character of God and who Jesus is. It happens in John chapter 20. We see the disciples, they're hiding behind locked doors, right? Fearful for their lives. The religious and political leaders were looking for them. They're carrying the shame and the guilt and failure of abandoning Jesus at his most crucial time. They're confused about what just happened and what to do next. And Jesus steps into the room. Can you imagine, as they're hiding behind locked doors, how they must have felt? The guilt or embarrassment, or even worse, the disappointment in themselves. I'm thinking, how can God ever use me again, right? How could I be a disciple and fail at the most important time when Jesus needed me most? I ran away. Can you think of the guilt that they must have felt? Like, how could God ever use me? I failed, God. You've never felt that way, right? You're just serving God with all your heart, all your life, right? But I think some of us can relate to that feeling like, man, how can God use me when I've failed him so often? But I want you to hear the first 4 words Jesus speaks to these guys who felt nothing but fear and failure for 3 days. And these 4 words change everything. John chapter 20, it says this, starting in verse 19. It says this: that Sunday evening, The disciples were meeting behind locked doors because they were afraid of the Jewish leaders. Okay, so let's set the stage here. Jesus, it's been Good Friday. Jesus has been crucified, killed, and put into the tomb, all right? And now 3 days later, it's Sunday night, and resurrection has happened, right? But they don't know that yet. Jesus hasn't appeared to them. So it's Easter Sunday, and that Sunday evening, the disciples were meeting behind locked doors because they were afraid of the Jewish leaders. Suddenly, everybody say Tiba Tiba. My favorite word in Bahasa. All right. Suddenly, Jesus was standing there among them. Peace be with you, he said. His first 4 words to these fearful and afraid, these failures. And what does Jesus say to them? Peace be with you, he said. As he spoke, he showed them the wounds in his hands and in his side. They were filled with joy when they saw the Lord. Again, he said, peace be with you. As the Father sent me, I am sending you. Then he breathed on them and said, receive the Holy Spirit. Turn to the person next to you and say, peace be with you. Now, as a good Catholic growing up in an American culture, I heard that every Sunday from the priest, all right? That was just something you in a Catholic church, the priest would always greet you with peace be with you. And if any Catholics here would know, you'd respond by saying, and also with you, all right? So that it's a familiar expression that I grew up with, but I never knew its context. The first 4 words Jesus shares with his disciples after his resurrection. Peace be with you. I mean, Jesus had been beaten, crucified, and buried, and now he's alive. He walks into that locked room where fear and shame and confusion, that you can feel it in the air. The disciples, they're not celebrating, they're hiding. And the very first words out of his mouth, peace be with you. Peace be with you. Not, where were you? Or why did you abandon me? Or I told you so. Jesus simply says to them, peace be with you. And that's what I want us to hear today. Peace be with you. How many of you need a little peace in your life right now? I think, man, all you got to do, man, I talked to some of you working on Scriptsy. Man, you need a lot of peace, right? Some of you, man, all you got to do is turn on the news, right? And you're like, man, we need some peace. And here's what 2 Thessalonians says. The Apostle Paul tells us that we can have peace in Jesus in our lives at all times and every situation. This is what it says. Now may the Lord of peace himself give you his peace at all times and in every situation. That's not just the kind of peace I want. That's the kind of peace that I need, right? I want that kind of peace in my home, at my workplace, in my relationships. Peace at all times and in every situation. So here's what I want us to know about the peace of God. Number 1, if you're taking notes, you can write this down. Peace is promised. Peace is promised. Now, over the years, I've done a lot of preaching at GSJA and Bahasa speaking churches, all right? And my hope is that you never hear me preach in Bahasa, all right? Like you're like, man, it's bad enough hearing me preach in English, right? You're like, oh, no, it's Pastor Jamie again. All right, so it's bad enough. So imagine me preaching in Bahasa, all right? Even worse, all right? I'll never forget, just about 6 months ago, I was preaching at a church in Jakarta in Bahasa, and I wanted to encourage the church to be passionate about prayer, all right? Like, kita harus berdoa dengan keras. That's what I wanted to pray. Like, we need to pray more passionately, with more fervor. And so we all know the word for prayer is what? Berdoa, all right? So, kita harus berdoa dengan keras. That's what I wanted to say, all right? But my problem is I kind of messed it up, and I was preaching with so much semangatness that when I was preaching, I said, instead of saying we need to berdoa dengan keras, I said kita harus berdosa dengan keras. All right, so which means, if you don't know, it means to sin. All right, to sin. So I'm preaching, and I'm saying we need to sin more. We need to sin with more passion. We need to sin with others around us. All right, and so everybody in the church is just like shocked. All right, and of course my friend, I think it was Golda, was in the front row, and she's like, stop. She's like, stop. So finally, I think the church, I realized, I was like, oh no, berdoa. So yeah, the church has never invited me back to preach. I don't know why. I don't know why. I don't know why they haven't invited. I keep waiting for them to reply to my text. All right. So, but one thing I learned is when I'm preaching at a church in Bahasa, there's one thing that you have to say before you preach. When you get up on the microphone, the first thing you must always say is what? Shalom. All right. So if you've been at, like, especially at a traditional church, right, the first thing you must say is Shalom, and then the Jama'at, the congregation, replies with Shalom. All right. And then some people are like, they're like Shalom, Shalom, and they're like Shalom, Shalom. They're gonna cross. No, no, no. All right. So it turns into this big thing. All right. So I always know you have to greet the church with Shalom, right? Well, Jesus walks into this room, right? And that's the first word he says to them, Shalom. Jesus says, peace be with you. But it's more than a greeting. It's the fulfillment of a promise. Because all throughout Jesus' ministry, he's been preparing them for this moment. I mean, think about it. John 14, he says this, I'm leaving you with a gift, peace of mind and heart. And the peace I give you is a gift the world cannot give. So don't be troubled or afraid. And then just 2 chapters later, he says it again. He says, I've told you all of this that you may have peace in me. Here on earth, you will have many trials and sorrows, but take heart because I have overcome the world. So when the resurrected Jesus shows up in the locked room, he doesn't just say, peace be with you. Here's what I want you to notice. He shows them the nail-scarred hands and his side. It's interesting. He not only says, peace be with you, but he shows them his hands and his side. I mean, how interesting. The resurrection didn't erase the scars. I mean, if anybody deserved a new body, a resurrected, a restored or glorified body, it was Jesus. But he didn't. I find this funny because I'm assuming when I go to heaven and I get my new body, my glory, I'll probably be like 10 kilos lighter, and I'll have a lot more hair. All right. So that's what I'm gonna. So if you're looking for me in heaven, I'll be thinner with more hair. All right. So just so you know. But Jesus, he didn't hide his scars or explain them away. They're not even replaced or healed. He kept his scars. So when Jesus says peace, he shows them his wounds. And that's so important because peace is not pretending that everything's okay. Peace is not pretending everything's okay. It's not ignoring the pain or minimizing suffering. It's a peace that says, even when the worst things happen, it's not the final word. It means your past doesn't disqualify you, your wounds don't define you, and your pain is not wasted. The peace of God doesn't ask you to pretend that everything's okay. Jesus meets you in your disappointment. He meets you in your loss. He meets you in a wound that's not fully healed yet. And he still says, peace be with you. Not because the scars are gone, but because he's risen. I don't know why that relationship didn't work out for you. I don't know why your finances aren't adding up. I don't know why you're feeling all alone. But here's what I want to say. Jesus promises a peace with scars. And for some of you, you need to hear that today. So number one, it's a peace that's promised. But number two, it's a peace that's protected. It's a peace that is protected. Here's something I've learned about the book of Isaiah. Of all the books of the Bible, of all 66 books of the Bible, the book of Isaiah mentions the word peace or talks about the peace more than any other book in the Bible. So Isaiah digs down deep to remind the troubled people of God that he's the God of peace. And right at the center of it, the Lord gives this amazing promise. It's in Isaiah 26:3. The verse says this, in Isaiah 26:3, it says this, you keep him in perfect peace. Everybody say perfect peace. You keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on you because he trusts in you. Now, I like that. I like this idea of a perfect peace. Now, what's interesting is that in the Hebrew language, in the original language, there is no such thing as a superlative. Now, our English teachers in here might know what that word means. I don't know what superlative means. All right, it means this. It means like an adjective. It means that in the original language, you can't put something in front of another word to make it bigger, to make it more greater. All right, so you can't make something larger. So in the English language, when we translate the original language, we use the word perfect in front of peace to describe what the author's trying to communicate. But in the original language, they don't use the word perfect peace because you can't put the word perfect in front of the word peace. So what they do is they double the word. So it really says, so when you read it, they double it to make it stronger. So it says that he'll keep you in peace. So the word is said twice, so it says Shalom Shalom. He says Shalom Shalom. So friends, let me tell you, I've been living in Jakarta for 10 weeks. I need double peace. All right. I mean, some of you guys have visited there, all right? One piece is not good enough. All right. I need peace. All right. Some of you, you're working on Scripsy and you're like, one shalom, not enough. All right. I need shalom, shalom. All right. I need double shalom. All right. Some of you young pros there, man, you're adulting. You're figuring out how to live this life. You're like, one piece was good as a mahasiswa. I need shalom, shalom. I need the double peace. I need peace. All right. So I get that. So I like that it's not just perfect peace, it's peace. All right. It's shalom. It's double shalom. All right. It's double. It's shalom. Peace, double peace. So here's what I want you to know. He will keep you in peace, whose minds are what? Whose minds are stayed on you. And that word stayed means to guard. It's like a watchman on the wall looking for enemies that are coming. Here's how the Apostle Paul puts it in Philippians 4. He says, and the God of peace, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds in Christ. So the peace you receive when you become a follower of Jesus, the peace that you receive is not something fragile that can be dropped and easily broken. It's not something that can be lost. It's a peace that is guarded and protected. It's not circumstantial. It's not something that I lose just because I'm going through a difficult time. The peace of God is not based on our circumstances. The peace of God is not based on our circumstances. The disciples' situation didn't immediately change when Jesus showed up. The authorities were still out to get them. Their future was still uncertain, but everything changed when Jesus stepped into the room. Most of us are looking for peace that's circumstantial, right? Oh, when I graduate, then I'll feel less anxious, right? Oh, if I get more money and I get a better job or my business starts to take off, oh, then I'll start to feel peace, right? Or when life gets easier, when that relationship settles down, then I'll start to feel peace. This is why the peace of God is so different. We don't get a peace that is fragile or lost or broken that's based on what's happening around us. Instead, it's a protected peace that is secure in the resurrection of Jesus. The world offers a peace that's easily broken. One bad phone call, one diagnosis, one unexpected crisis, and poof, our peace is gone. Jesus gives us a peace in the middle of locked doors, not after they're opened. Jesus gives us a peace in the middle of our locked doors, not after they're open. The peace Jesus promises has already been tested by the worst possible scenario, the cross, and it survived. So the peace that we have is not shaken by fear, not destroyed by suffering, and certainly not canceled by uncertainty. It's a peace that has already gone through death and come out alive. Some of you walked in today carrying anxiety, depression, hurt, fear. Well, the risen Jesus is speaking those same 4 words to you today. Peace be with you. It's a peace that is promised, a peace that is protected, and last one, a peace that is purchased. A peace that is purchased. Jesus paid a high price for your peace. Ephesians 2 shows us that the Lord was committed to this peace, to the purchase of this peace. The same peace that is promised and protected, it came at a high price. Here's what Ephesians 2 says. But now in Christ, you who were once far off have been brought near by the blood of Christ. For he himself is our peace, who has made us both one, has broken down in his flesh the dividing wall of hostility by abolishing the law of commandments expressed in ordinances, that he might create in himself one new man in place of the two, so making peace, and might reconcile us both to God in one body through the cross, thereby killing the hostility. And he came and preached peace to you who were far off and peace to those who were near. For through him we both have access in one spirit to the Father. Man, 3 times he kept referring to the cross and the price that was paid. He calls it the blood. He called it the cross. He called it his death. That's where it was all purchased. Your peace, my peace, came at a high price. That's why he guards it and protects it. And at the deepest level, this means that the war or the hostility, the war or the enmity, as some translations put it, between us and God, it's over. Because of the cross and resurrection, sin has been paid for, judgment has been satisfied, and the separation has been removed. Because of Jesus, sin has been paid for, judgment has been satisfied, and separation has been removed. So when Jesus says peace, he's declaring something. He's saying you're no longer far off. You're now family. This is why this peace goes deeper than just an emotion. It changes our position and our standing before God. The disciples didn't deserve peace in that moment. They had run away. They had denied Jesus. They had hidden in fear, and yet Jesus says to them, "Peace be with you." Here's how I like to put it. Peace is not a reward for getting your life all together. It's a gift from the Savior for what he's already done for you and me. We don't achieve this peace. We don't work towards this peace. We receive this peace. Well, here's what happens in the rest of John 20. All right, you remember we read the beginning of the story. Jesus appears to those disciples. They're hiding. They're afraid. And Jesus steps into that room and says, "Peace be with you." And he shows them the nail-scarred hands, the wound on his side, and they're filled with joy, all right? And then he breathes the breath of God into their lives, right? And commissions them, "I'm sending you out." But if you keep reading John chapter 20, you find out that one of the disciples is missing, right? When Jesus first appears, Thomas, infamously known as Doubting Thomas, he missed it. Where was he? I don't know. Maybe he was like on a boxo run. I don't know what he was doing. But for some reason, when Jesus first appears, Thomas is not in the room. And Thomas comes back afterwards, and the disciples come to him. They're fired up, right? They're excited to share with Thomas, "Hey, Jesus appeared, right? We've seen the Lord. He's alive." And Thomas is standing there like, "Well, that's great for you. I'm glad you were there." And then he says these famous words. If you've read the Bible, you know them. He says, "Unless I see the scars in his hands and the wound in his side, I will not believe." Unless I see him for myself, I just can't believe. So Thomas waits. 1 day, 2 days, a week goes by. The Bible says after 8 days, the disciples, they're all back in that locked room. But this time, Thomas is there. And suddenly Jesus is standing in the middle of the room. And don't miss this. The first words out of Jesus' mouth are not correction, not disappointment. He doesn't say, "Thomas, I told you so. Why didn't you just believe?" Does anybody know the first 4 words Jesus says to Thomas? "Peace be with you." Jesus meets you right where you're at. Jesus meets you right where you're at. I was thinking about this all week long. I was talking to one of the young adults at my church, and she was sharing with me her struggles that she's struggling at work, and she's having a hard time finding community. And I remember her saying to me, she said, "It's a lot harder than I thought it would be. It's a lot harder than I expected it." And you know what I said to her? I said, "Yep, it's hard." And she was shocked because she thought I was going to say like, "Oh, it's going to get better," or she was waiting for me to counsel her or give her some encouragement. But the reality is, you and I know that life can be tough. Life can be difficult. Man, we go through struggles and failures, and some days we feel like a champion. We're like, "I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me." And the next day we're like, "I failed you again, Jesus." Sometimes in the same day we can go from champion to sometimes in the same hour, all right? We can go from, "Man, God, I'm committing my whole life to you," to failing and feeling like, "Man, how can I go on?" So this is what I told her. Jesus meets you right where you're at. Whether you're a mahasiswa, a young adult, newly married, if you're starting your own business and trying to Jesus meets you right where you're at. You're married with kids, Jesus meets you right where you're at. So if you feel like Thomas today, if you feel like I missed it, like everyone else has faith, but you're still struggling, like everyone else has peace, but you're still struggling, you're still full of questions, here's the good news. Jesus walks into your space, your doubts, your fears, all of your questions, and he speaks those same 4 words to you. Peace be with you. It's the same peace, not a lesser peace, not a delayed peace, the same resurrection peace. I hope you enjoyed today's sermon. Feel free to contact us with any questions through our Instagram, @EWJokcha. Feel free to share this podcast with others. Until next time, may God bless you and keep you.